Hello and welcome to The Record. I'm Katrina Szish in for Greta Van Susteren. A major update today after 2 American pilots were trapped behind enemy lines in Iran. Now, the regime was calling for capture or worse. But today, those airmen are safe thanks to a daring American mission. Earlier, President Trump detailed the rescue that was nothing short of heroic and also historic.
Both members of the crew ejected from the aircraft and landed alive. On Iranian soil, I immediately was asked to make a decision. I ordered the U.S. Armed Forces to do whatever was necessary to bring our brave warriors back home. A risky decision, because we could have ended up with 100 dead as opposed to 1 or 2. It's a hard decision to make. But in the United States military, we leave no American behind. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, finding this pilot. And the CIA was unbelievable.
And, well, they found him, of course. So what exactly went into the courageous rescue mission? Our very own Carl Higbie, a former Navy SEAL and host of Frontline, knows a thing or two about America's special ops. Carl will join me later this hour to discuss the high-stakes, high-pressure operation. Also coming up, could another U.S. land mission in Iran be imminent? What to know about Iran's string of islands near the Strait of Hormuz, and the risks, challenges, and potential payoffs if American forces go in. That also is ahead. But first, we begin at the White House, where our very own Mike Carter has more on what we learned from President Trump's afternoon address to the nation. He spoke for some time, Mike, and covered a lot of ground. What can you tell us?
Yeah, he certainly did, Katrina. This is the second time we saw the president today. This morning, President Trump at the annual White House Easter egg roll, talking to reporters for the better part of an hour. President confirming today multiple reports over the weekend about his 8 o'clock Eastern time deadline tomorrow night to Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face a living hell. Today, the president says, "This is my final deal." And what has been proposed so far is good, but it's not good enough.
Tuesday at 8 p.m., your final deadline.
Yeah. They made a proposal, and it's a significant proposal. It's a significant step. It's not good enough, but it's a very significant step. They're negotiating now, and they've made a very significant step. We'll see what happens.
Well, President Trump was extremely impressed this afternoon by the U.S. operation deep inside Iran over the weekend to rescue that second U.S. jet fighter from that F-15 that went down Friday in Iran. The first crew member, the pilot of that jet, was extracted within hours. The weapons systems officer, however, a colonel, evading capture for more than 24 hours after climbing a 7,000-foot cliff face while injured, hiding in a crevice while being hunted by Iranian forces until his rescue early Sunday morning. Hundreds of elite operators, supported by dozens of aircraft and advanced intelligence, conducting the high-risk extraction of that second airman. Today, President Trump, alongside Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Raisin Kane, lauding the bravery and talents of all involved in the rescue efforts. But the president saying today that first pilot's extraction was supposed to be kept a secret, and that the administration will find whoever leaked that first airman's rescue prematurely, one way or another.
Somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out, because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail.
The president says Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing Strait, you crazy bastards, says Trump, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. Today, the president giving more details about what may happen in Iran tomorrow night.
We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth saying today Iran was both embarrassed and humiliated by the rescue missions of both of those U.S. pilots over the weekend. And today, Katrina, Pete Hegseth making an analogy about the Easter weekend and the rescue of that second airman, relating it to the death of Christ and the rise of Christ over the weekend, saying he was shot down on Friday, hid in a cave on Saturday, and rescued on Sunday amidst a rising sun. That second crew member's first words to American forces trying to ask to be rescued: God is good. Quite an Easter miracle indeed. Yeah, Katrina?
All right, Mike Carter, thank you so much. And of course, they keep mowing the lawn at the White House. That's a good thing. All right, joining me now for more, Newsmax senior political analyst and former Pennsylvania Republican Senator Rick Santorum, along with retired Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert. Welcome to both of you. General, I'm going to start with you here. President Trump, we know, has said that he has Iran has until 8 p.m. tomorrow to make some sort of a deal with the United States to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He has said that he is dealing and speaking with some people who are more on the practical side. Do you think we're going to see a deal happen?
Katrina, I think it's important for whoever he's negotiating or talking to in Iran to understand that the president is serious about those threats. He will carry out those threats if that deadline hits and his terms have not been reached. And I think it would be very wise for the Iranian people, but really the Iranian regime, to understand those two truths and to realize that it's in their long-term best interest to abide by his terms.
Yeah, Senator Santorum, you know, this incredible, heroic rescue operation that we saw really truly shows the strength of the U.S. military, and there is a lot of positivity around that. How do you think that plays for President Trump and how Americans may be looking at the war? Does it make any difference?
I think it does. I mean, I think it's an incredible point of pride in our military. Frankly, the decision of the president to risk, as he said, a failure. I mean, Jimmy Carter tried to pull hostages out, and that didn't do very well. I mean, that was a disaster, and it cost him a lot. It made his administration look weak and not competent. This was a big deal. This is a big risk, but it shows you how much Donald Trump is in touch with his military and with the American public. American public doesn't like our soldiers flying dangerous missions and being left behind if something goes wrong. And the president understood that. He understood that this is a code, not just in the military, but among Americans. And I think it's a proud day for everybody. I think it's a feel-good day for everybody. You may not like the war, but you really appreciate the president's courage in taking that risk and getting this done.
Excellent point there. And, you know, in general, it's interesting because I spoke to a former Top Gun pilot earlier today, and he echoed what Senator Santorum said, that, of course, America will not leave a woman or a man, a member of our military, behind. But what we see with the regime in Iran, they really don't care about their own people. And so they are stretching this war out. They've been killing their own people. Again, you pointed out that President Trump is not joking around with that deadline of 8 p.m. tomorrow. He has threatened to take down pretty much all of their infrastructure. But then the question remains, what does that mean for the people of Iran who were still wondering, will they be able to rise up? Will they be able to create a separate government? But if there is no infrastructure, wouldn't that potentially be setting them back?
Katrina, I think it's important to realize that, number one, 90 million Iranians have faced this regime and its repressive nature for the last 47 years. Today, they are given the best opportunity they've ever had in those 47 years to rise up. But I also think it would be wise for the Trump administration to implement his threats in phases, to destroy some of the infrastructure he described starting at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, and then give the Iranian regime a chance to realize that he is serious and to maybe make a change in their orientation with respect to their negotiations with us. And that would minimize the amount of infrastructure that has been destroyed, while certainly creating the type of conditions that help the Iranian regime to realize the president is serious.
Senator Santorum, I want to get your thoughts on NATO. Of course, the president has been very vocal about the fact that he has not had any support from them primarily, and also he referenced that again today during his speech. How do you think this will change America's relationship overall with NATO, or do you think they're going to come around? He did say he's planning to speak with them later this week.
I don't know if they're going to come around or not, but what they did was reprehensible. Western Europe was not allowing flyovers, not allowing landing. I mean, this was a slap in the face of Donald Trump, but more than that, it was a slap in the face of America, it was a slap in the face of the people they train with, our military, making it more risky for them, more difficult to accomplish an already dangerous mission. This is not what allies do, much less an ally that's in an alliance with us, a formal alliance with us. I think it's changed NATO maybe permanently. I think Western Europe in particular could find itself out of an alliance, and we might be better off with an alliance with people who actually want to defend the West, which would be Central and Eastern Europe, and eliminating Western Europe and Canada from that mix, and go with a different type of alliance. But I don't think they realize the damage they've done politically among both, I hope, Democrats and Republicans. This isn't just about Donald Trump. This is about what they've done to our military and what they're doing to make it difficult for us to be successful.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. Great conversation. Senator Rick Santorum, Brigadier General John Teichert. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and coming up, will President Trump seize the islands that lie in and near the Strait of Hormuz? We're going to look at that when the record continues. Stay with us.
People can't stop talking about Rob Schmidt.
I trust the news from Rob Schmidt every single day.
They say he's no BS.
No BS. No liberal crap.
He hates liars.
The honesty and up-to-date news and none of the fake news.
He tells it better than anyone.
Everything is straight, legit, real news.
He's your voice.
Rob Schmidt, 7 p.m. Wouldn't miss it.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
I love Newsmax.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dry premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Why go on Roe? Because 1 in 4 guys experience ED.
Guys, connect with a provider to find treatment that could be right for you, like fast-acting dissolvables or daily gummies. If 1 in 4 guys deal with ED,
Then 1 in 4 guys should go on Roe.
We age because our cells do. Fatty 15 is the first and only pure C15 supplement, a crucial nutrient that actually reverses aging at the cellular level.
I'm 56 and a half, and I want to feel my best and look my best, and I find this is the one supplement that has helped me get the results I want.
Fatty 15 has over 36 cellular activities that support metabolic, cognitive, liver, red blood cell, and immune health. Give your cells what they've been missing. Use code TV for 15% off your order at fatty15.com.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Guess what? Experian Boost is even better because now my monthly insurance payments, my streaming payments, my rent payments, even my phone payments can raise my credit scores instantly. Free.
More ways to build credit. Download the Experian app.
Today, Israel struck a key petrochemical plant on Iran's massive South Pars natural gas field. Israel has also confirmed a large-scale wave of strikes targeting 3 airports across Tehran. And according to the Israel Defense Forces, these strikes were aimed at wearing down Iranian Air Force and the IRGC Air Force capabilities. Middle East correspondent Zach Anders is live in Tel Aviv with the very latest. Zach, what can you tell us?
Well, Katrina, if you're listening to what Iran has to say, they have rejected the ceasefire proposal that America put on the table, and that's according to the Islamic Republic News Agency, their own state broadcaster. Now, the regime replying with a 10-point list of demands. They're insisting that they'll only accept a deal that includes a permanent end to the war, not a ceasefire to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Now, overnight in Tehran, the head of Iran's IRGC intelligence unit, Major General Majid Hademi, was killed in an Israeli strike. That's a big blow to what's left of Iran's senior leadership. Even the state news agency in Iran has admitted that he was killed. Now, the IDF confirms that other top commanders were also eliminated in separate overnight strikes. And Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz, he's promising to hunt down Iran's remaining leaders one by one, as Israeli warplanes at the same time were striking Iran's largest petrochemical complex, along with several airports around the country overnight. They say they're continuing to degrade Iran's ability to fight this war. Here in Israel, 4 civilians were killed by a direct hit in Haifa from an Iranian missile, including a couple in their 70s, their son and his partner. Rescue efforts lasted more than 18 hours. I'm told that they had been sheltering in their stairwell of this building when it took a direct hit. And the IDF tells me that those rescue efforts were delayed by the more than 200 pounds of explosives in the warhead that did not detonate on impact. And that was the reason for it taking so long for rescue crews to try and get in there. We're still waiting for the results as to whether or not they had been killed by that direct hit. But as you look at the damage, it would have been very difficult to survive that direct hit again on their apartment. And the breaking headline again at this hour, Iran saying that they reject the American ceasefire proposal. Now, President Trump's deadline for them to accept a deal was set to expire, or is set to expire, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. During the press conference today in the White House, he said that by midnight that their power plants and bridges would go up in dust. Now, the president's threat to attack power plants and bridges, the moment that the deadline expires, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman responded by saying that a deadline should not give us a cause or cause us to give ourselves even the slightest hesitation in defending our country. There are different social media accounts that are tied to Iran's embassies have been essentially posting, "Bring it on. We welcome your attacks," which will enter into a different territory here. By the letter of international law, targeting power plants or civilian infrastructure could constitute a war crime. But it does get very nitpicky in the letter of international law as to whether or not that power generated is being used for military purposes, whether or not a bridge is being used by military convoys to enter into different areas of the country. But it will certainly bring a lot of angst from the international community, especially after years of decrying Putin's targeting of power generation in Ukraine. But this is, again, an area where the U.S., Russia, just about every country on earth has at some point in wartime targeted what would be considered a civilian facility. So it will be a moment here, as you heard the president say, that he hopes that the people will rise up. But it's going to be a precarious moment, because what happens when the power cuts off for the hospitals for those people, some still recovering from the massacres and the slaughters that took place when Iran and the regime cracked down on their own people. So, Katrina, we're looking at a very delicate next 24 hours of this war. If Iran relents, decides to accept an American proposal, then the president has said those strikes would be taken off the table. Katrina?
All right, Zach Anders. Very difficult moment indeed. And of course, we'll be watching, as we know that you will as well. And we know that President Trump, of course, has pledged the war in Iran will soon come to an end. But in recent days, more than 5,000 Marines, paratroopers, and special forces have arrived in the Middle East. Just last week, the president threatened to invade Iran's main oil export hub, known as Karg Island. We've talked about it. Why did he threaten this? Well, because Iran is not allowed shipping through the Strait of Hormuz since the U.S. and Israel launched their attack against Iran. Now, according to the New York Times, U.S. officials say the president is also weighing whether to seize these islands you're looking at right there on the screen. Those are in and near the Strait of Hormuz. This would be in an effort to open the waterway again. Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark joins me now. General Clark, always great to talk to you. I want to go to this first. Of course, our correspondent Zach Anders was just saying that Iran has effectively rejected any ceasefire proposal. And to quote Zach, a lot of the social media posts have sort of read, "Bring it on." And we know there's that 8 p.m. deadline set by President Trump tomorrow. A lot to contend with here. What do you think is going to happen? And what about that very real possibility of attacking civilian facilities, which of course would be a war crime?
Well, I think that, first of all, diplomacy is not finished. So when someone says they reject, okay, fine. But the talking is probably still going on. There's probably pressure from both sides. The Iranians have to understand that President Trump does mean what he says. He is going to go after those civilian facilities. And as your reporter said, there will be a question is, are they really civilian? Or are they dual use? And if they're dual use and they're supplying power to nuclear research, to factories that are producing military equipment and so forth, that's a legitimate military target. If it's in the middle of a suburb and all it's doing is providing electric lights to a suburb, well, maybe that's different. But most of these power plants, my guess would be they would fall under the dual use approach. And I think lawyers would say that it is not illegal. Obviously, no one wants to see an escalation. President doesn't want to see it. We want the war to stop. But the Iranians are the ones that are driving this forward at this point.
General, why do you think that they are, I'm going to say, fighting so hard? That may sound like a naive question, but based on what we've heard from President Trump and the administration, I mean, their military and most of their country is all but obliterated.
The regime is struggling to survive. And they know that there is, to put it in Secretary Hegseth's word, there's really no quarter for the regime, not for the individuals, but for the regime itself. If the regime starts to collapse, if the people turn against it, it'll collapse very, very quickly. So they're struggling. There are maximum repression inside Iran, and at the same time, not showing any, let's say, weakness by going into these negotiations. And they do feel like they've got a real grip on the Strait of Hormuz. They feel that's a strategic weapon, and they also have enough left in their arsenal to be able to punish, take out petroleum facilities and desal plants from our friends and allies in the Gulf. Kuwait lost a couple of desal plants today, and if these desal plants are hit, obviously, countries like the Emirates are quite vulnerable. And so they feel like they've got the wherewithal to stand toe-to-toe with the United States. They don't think they're losing. And what President Trump is trying to explain to them through his tweets and through the actions of the U.S. Armed Forces is, you're going to lose. You better stop now. You are going to lose.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on right now.
I mean, he's basically said, no, you already have lost and we have won. What do you make, General, of the report that the president is weighing whether to seize the islands that lie in and around the Strait of Hormuz, obviously in an effort to open the waterway? Could that lead to more American boots on the ground? Could that make things worse? Would that make a difference?
Well, it's a big operation to seize these islands. It's much bigger than 5,000 Marines. Now, what you can do if you've done the adequate reconnaissance, you can run some raids on these islands. But these islands are pretty heavily fortified. You have to think in terms of World War II, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, the biggest battles of World War II, might pale in comparison to what it would take to go after, let's say, that shark-shaped island there, Keshem. Has 150,000 civilians on it, but it's, according to all intelligence, it's very heavily fortified. It's got underwater tunnel entrances. It has anti-aircraft, it has artillery, it has mortars, it has rockets, it has torpedoes, and it has probably a lot of people there in fighting positions who will stay and fight to the death. So it might be a really tough thing. When you do these things, you have to do it with full preparation. I don't know, because I'm not on the inside, how much preparation's been done, but you would want to know what's the water like? Are there any underwater obstacles? Are there mines right there when you're trying to get landing craft ashore? Are there special booby traps for helicopters landing? Where are the landing zones? Where are the fighting positions? And what about artillery that is on the mainland that could fire into Kesh? So there's so many questions to ask. And, we would never want to do something like this without full preparation.
Sure.
Now,
extensive. I was going to say extensive reconnaissance
special forces teams in there? Sure. And can they do some damage and tear up some air defense and things like that at night? Sneaky Pete's in there? Sure. You could probably do that, and you might get away with it. but taking these islands is a major military operation.
General Clark, we're just about out of time, but I have to ask you, considering obviously you spent time in NATO, of course, running NATO in the late 90s, do you think for an operation like this, we would need NATO? Because we certainly know that NATO has not been supportive of the president's efforts in Iran.
I think if we go to NATO the right way and we have to do an operation like this, and they will, as they've already had a meeting, they're coming back to convene again, I think Thursday, to look at military options. They're going to understand without us, there is no military option, and that they're going to need to be with us because they're more dependent on this in terms of physical supplies than we are. Now, all of us are connected to the Strait because the price of oil is a global price.
Right.
So you can't escape the impact, even in the United States where we're producing our own oil. But I think we would have NATO nations with us, but we got to go through the process.
Okay.
We got to consult on it. It's a political decision. The military has to look at it. It's a process.
All right. And of course, as you said, they'll be meeting again this week. And you also said you believe diplomacy has not fully been exercised or come to an end yet in Iran. So, of course, we'll be watching the 8 p.m. deadline tomorrow night. General Wesley Clark, thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you.
All right. And coming up, the 2 crew members that were shot down by Iranian forces, they are now safe. That when the record continues.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Before Apoquel Chewable for allergic itch, giving dogs pills was a battle of wits.
Oh, Maria, I'm wise to your foolish game.
Is it gone?
Totally gone.
Relief for itchy dogs can be easier. Apoquel, the trusted #1 treatment for allergic itch, is available in a tasty chewable that works fast.
May cause worsening of existing parasitic skin infestations, serious infections, or pre-existing cancers. New neoplasias have been observed. Do not use in dogs under 12 months of age with serious infections or in breeding, pregnant, or lactating dogs.
Ask your vet for Apoquel Chewable.
Do it!
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
They are both safe. Overnight on Thursday, an F-15E Strike Eagle with 2 crew members was shot down by Iranian forces. Both crew members ejected, and now both crew members have been rescued. Today, President Trump said this regarding the mission.
The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. This first wave of search and rescue forces successfully located the pilot of the F-15, and he was extracted from enemy territory by an HH-60 Jolly Green 2 helicopter. Fabulous machine as our warriors faced gunfire at very close range. The officer followed his training and climbed into the treacherous mountain terrain and started climbing toward a higher altitude, something they were trained to do in order to evade capture. He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location. They have a very sophisticated beeper-type apparatus that is on them at all times.
Host of Frontline right here on Newsmax, Carl Higbie joins me now. Carl, when you sat down, the one word you said to me, epic. Epic rescue. Obviously, you were trained as a former Navy SEAL to prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's what happened here.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing now, my guys went in and got him. So, I mean, you're talking about a 35-mile incursion is what we're hearing right now. We downed our own planes that couldn't take off. We were like, leave them, blow them up in place. Anytime it's disabled, we do that. The number of people involved in this, the intel assets, the coordination. This is nothing short of an epic victory. This is what sets America apart from any other country.
Wow. What is it about this particular rescue that struck you most? As you heard about the pilots who were down, as you heard that one had been rescued, the other one was not found yet. Obviously, I'm sure there are things that go through your brain that would not go through anyone else's. What were some of the things you were thinking about?
So I've been through the SEER school that pilot has gone through. And for him, I mean, look, it's 100 degrees during the day. He's in a foreign land, banged up, sprained ankle from what we're hearing, climbed a 7,000-foot mountain, hid in a crevice between 2 boulders to not be found. The U.S. military put a cordon with Reaper drones around and just unalived anybody who came near there in a convoy. Meanwhile, you had CIA doing false intel psyops, telling Iranian forces that we had already recovered the pilot so they'd stop. I mean, it was like 100 things moving at once to get one guy, and I would do it all over again.
Amazing. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
We did have a downed helicopter once in Iraq that we had to respond to, and it is all hands on deck. It really is something incredible, though, to see all the forces in motion, to control that many assets, to put that kind of ball on the field. I mean, it really is. It tells you, though. I mean, when you look at the enemy, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie Black Hawk Down,
Sure.
Lone Survivor with Marcus Luttrell. Like, that was my platoon that went in to get Marcus Luttrell. These things, like, you have no idea how nerve-wracking it is going through the training that we do. We understand what it's like to be the guy by yourself where everybody's looking for you. And we owe them nothing short of getting them back alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier today, President Trump said this regarding Iran. Let's listen.
Every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock.
Now, I just spoke to General Wesley Clark. He said that although Iran has claimed they have once again rejected any ceasefire, he feels there is still some diplomacy taking place. But he also said, don't be confused. President Trump means what he says here.
Oh yeah, he'll do it. I don't think the Iranians, if they don't understand at this point, they're just not going to get it. So victory through violence, I guess. The thing is, and there's some, you've seen the libs are crying, oh, well, it's a war crime and this and that. Look, nobody called war crime when Iran set off 108 pounds of EFP right next to me and killed 3 of my friends and knocked me unconscious. Nobody cried war crime when they put 2,000 American bodies in bags. Nobody did any of that. In fact, Obama flew pallets of cash in to compensate him for it, all right? So I don't really care. You can call it whatever you want, but apparently nobody does anything about it anyway, so let's go.
Interesting point, but General Clark, I asked him about that, and he said, well, actually, most of these sites will most likely be dual use, so it would not actually count as a war crime. So again,
and even then, I don't care.
I know you don't care, but just want to set the record straight here. Of course, it is the record. Carl, again, what do you think is going to happen? I know you said that you don't think if they haven't gotten it yet, they're not going to get it. I mean, do you think truly all hell will break loose at this deadline?
Yeah, I think you're dealing with religious zealots that believe, like some religious fundamentalism, that they cannot be touched, they cannot be hurt, and this is their mission in life, and there's nothing else, and there's no compromise. I mean, this has been their mission for 1,400 years. So, unfortunately, victory through elimination is probably the likely result here.
Do you think we're going to see American boots on the ground, or do you think we won't need it?
I sure hope not. I think limited areas like Carg Island might be acceptable to drain the oil, but I really hope that's kind of the red line for a lot of people, and it definitely, even some people within Trump orbit are like, that's the red line for me.
Yeah, and last thing, we're just about out of time, but what would you say to Americans who are saying, okay, President Trump said no new wars, I voted for President Trump, I don't want to see American soldiers put at risk. What do you tell them?
I voted for no new wars too. They've been at war with us since 1979. So they've been killing American troops, they've been bombing our ships and our structures all over the region. If they want to claim that this is a new war, they better get a history book real quick.
All right, Carl Higbie, host of Frontline. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, well, relatives of slain Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Chief Qasem Soleimani, thank you, were stripped of their U.S. residency status on Friday, according to the U.S. State Department. The Secretary of State Marco Rubio took to X on Saturday to confirm the news, while also adding that the niece and grandniece of Soleimani were living a very lavish lifestyle in Los Angeles, California. You can see the pictures there, where they were, quote, outspoken supporters of the Iranian regime who celebrated attacks on Americans and referred to our country as the Great Satan, end quote. Yep, they were celebrating, enjoying our country while condemning it the whole time. The husband of Soleimani's niece is also barred from entering the United States, and both mother and daughter are in ICE custody awaiting deportation. Sounds like it's about time. All right, coming up, an emotional return. A veteran journalist takes her seat back on the anchor desk after the disappearance of her mother, that when the record continues. Stay with us.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for the record on Newsmax.
Hello, this is WWE Hall of Fame wrestler Mick Foley. Across this great country, there are thousands of veterans with no place to call home. They deserve better.
Welcome to my new home.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is committed to eradicating veteran homelessness by providing housing and critical services.
Couldn't ask for anything more.
Please help by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Hello, Michael Youssef here. You know, there is no symbol that is more misunderstood and maligned than the cross of Christ. And yet, it is on that cross that Jesus died. And he died to give all confessing sinners peace here and now and eternal life with him. Will you surrender to him?
To find out more, visit findingtruepeace.com today. Spring showers bring the Spring Waterproof Sale at Lumber Liquidators. The absolute best selection of kid-proof, pet-proof, waterproof flooring. Over 90 varieties in stock and priced to move. Like Tranquility by Corlux Athens Oak, slashed down to 89 cents a square foot. Or Corlux Silver County Birch for $119 a square foot. The Spring Waterproof Sale now through April 7th. Shop the best selection of waterproof flooring in stores nationwide or online at lumberliquidators.com.
No way this all fits.
Watch me.
Oh, we're watching, Gary. They're right. We need WeatherTech.
I thought they only make floor liners and cargo liners.
Really, Gary? Really, Gary? Who do you think made the seat protector, side window deflectors, no drill mud flaps?
And the cup foam.
And I just ordered WeatherTech's newest products. Ta-da!
Hitch Basket makes for easy loading of heavy and bulky gear and increased storage capacity with a roof basket up top. Buy American at WT.com.
WeatherTech for the win.
Support your long-term health with Fatty 15, the science-backed, award-winning Pure C15 supplement.
Fatty 15 is reversing aging at the cellular level, and I know it's doing what I want it to do, which is prove longevity and wellness.
Discover more at fatty15.com.
The partial government shutdown has now lasted more than 50 days. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries made a call to his colleagues yesterday to return to work and end the record-breaking shutdown. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson said on Saturday that Democrats are endangering Americans and protecting criminal illegal aliens. He has not commented on Jeffries' latest remarks. President Trump signed an emergency memorandum on Friday directing Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin and Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought, quote, to use funds that have a reasonable and logical nexus to the functions of DHS to provide each and every employee of DHS with the compensation and benefits that would have accrued to them if not for the Democrat-led DHS shutdown, consistent with applicable law. Now, all of this comes as the president held a news conference today at the White House where he made it clear that Iran has until tomorrow night to make a deal and allow the free flow of oil. Senior political analyst and former Republican senator from the great state of Pennsylvania, my home state as well, Rick Santorum joins me once again. Senator Santorum, great to have you back here. Let's start with this partial government shutdown. Of course, it's been more than 50 days. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling on House Speaker Mike Johnson to end the spring recess early in order to vote on the resolution. Do you think this is something that Speaker Johnson will do? And, of course, the bigger questions, are Democrats ready to pass a bipartisan bill?
He won't do it, and they're not going to pass a bipartisan bill because, well, I shouldn't say that. They may pass a bipartisan bill. At some point, the Republicans are going to have to decide whether this is a campaign issue that they want to continue to blame the Democrats, or whether they're going to have to do something that nobody likes to do in Washington anymore, which is, compromise. And the compromise may be what the Senate has passed, which is to fund everything but ICE, and then fund it through a reconciliation package. Is that a defeat? I would say no. I would say that it's getting around the Democratic obstructionism. They're clearly obstructing. Everybody in America knows that they don't want to fund ICE. So you just work your way around it. And I don't see that as, I don't understand candidly why the House didn't go along with it. You take what you can get and you move forward, and you live to fight another day. They have the issue of that the Democrats are being recalcitrant. Take that to the election.
Yeah, Senator, how has the Senate changed since you have been in there? For example, if something like this had been going on, how would that Senate have solved it?
Pretty much the way they did. I mean, they wouldn't use necessarily reconciliation, but they'd find some sort of way around to make the thing work. The problem is that both sides are dug in so much. When I say both sides, look, the Democrats are doing the wrong here, but Republicans are dug in saying, no, we have to have this funding or we're not going to vote for it. At least many of them are. And that just isn't going to work. The Republicans can't pass a clean bill in the United States Senate. They need Democratic votes, which means they have to compromise. And I know the frustration that people have, but this is nothing. This has been going on for 250 years of our republic. The Senate has never been an easy place to get something done. It's always had to compromise. From the days, for the first 140 years of the republic, every senator had to agree to vote. Now you have to get 60 votes, but before you had to have every vote in order to vote. It's always been hard to do, and that's exactly the way the founders intended it, and it makes it hard, but that it forces compromise, which is exactly what was supposed to happen with our federal government.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like compromise may be a thing of the past, or boy, it sure is hard to get there. Senator Rick Santorum, we appreciate it always. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, well, Savannah Guthrie, she returned to the anchor desk on NBC today for the first time since the disappearance of her mother. The veteran journalist started off the show by saying it is good to be home before diving into the news of the day. Then later in the morning, Guthrie stepped out on the Today Show Plaza where, no surprise, she was greeted by loud cheers and welcome signs. She got emotional and thanked her fans for the letters, kindness, and prayers she has received during her time away. Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, has been missing since February. Federal and local law enforcement are working together to try to find the 84-year-old. The family is offering a reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads to her recovery. And coming up, what does the Artemis 2 mission and the band Pink Floyd have in common? One of my favorites. Find out when the record continues. Stay right there.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Leaf Filter is America's #1 gutter protection system. Yeah, because it's built right. We didn't just take our word for it. I didn't. I went to an install, I saw how it was built, I took it apart. Then you know, Leaf Filter is designed to keep debris out of your gutters and water flowing. And you get a lifetime guarantee. When it's built right, it shows. That's why it's Homes Approved. It's good to be #1. Always.
Schedule your free gutter inspection today. Call 877-77-HOMES or visit leaffilter.com/homes.
During the Omaha Steak Spring Savings Event, prices are going down. Save up to 50% with entrees about $5 per serving. Order now to get 8 burgers free. This spring, watch the prices fall at omahasteaks.com/TV.
Doctors recommend turmeric more than any other supplement for joint health. I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric, made with the #1 doctor recommended form of turmeric, clinically tested to support joint health and a healthy inflammation response. Cunol, the brand I trust.
How cool is this? The live look from the Orion spacecraft as these astronauts are going to the dark side of the moon. They made history today, too. The 4 astronauts aboard the Artemis 2 mission are now the first humans to travel the farthest from Earth, breaking the record set in 1970 by Apollo 13. Our chief Washington correspondent, James Rosen, also a music expert, is tracking the Artemis 2 mission. He joins me now. We did mention Pink Floyd, but I'll let that up to you, James.
Yes, we all recognize the reference to the dark side of the moon. Not as dark for certain human beings today. Shortly after the Orion capsule reached that milestone, exceeding the previous record of 244,655 miles from the Earth, Commander Reed Wiseman expressed the hope that this new record will be broken again sometime soon. NASA's live feed coming from a camera mounted on one of Orion's solar arrays is capturing the crew's approach to the moon's orbit. Just a few minutes ago, they were roughly 10,000 miles away from the lunar surface. Within a few hours, the crew will reach about 4,000 miles from the surface, their closest point. Indeed, shortly before 7 Eastern tonight, the Orion will lose contact with mission control because Earth will be blocked by the moon. The flight path of Orion, swinging around the moon before returning to Earth, has enabled the crew to snap photographs like these, of a kind not seen in more than half a century. Subjects include the big blue marble, the crew, and the Orion capsule itself. A short time ago, astronaut Christina Koch, a native of Grand Rapids, described the scene for her colleagues in Mission Control.
We can actually see the moon and Earth at the same time right now. It's interesting because the Earth looks way brighter, so the Earth itself seems to have a much higher albedo than the moon. We think this is independent of our eyes focusing because, of course, the Earth is much smaller than the moon in our view. So you could think that your eyes focus for the darker sky, and that it means that it only has apparent brightness more than the moon. But since we're seeing both in the same view, we do think that this can be inferred as the Earth as a whole has a higher albedo.
Albedo is a scientific term that refers to the reflectivity on a given surface. Now, shortly after that, astronaut Victor Glover of California described the height of certain shadows on the lunar surface near the Oriental Basin. That's a 600-mile wide crater on the moon's southwestern edge, and the Artemis astronauts are the first, if not ever, certainly in some 50-plus years, to see it with their own eyes. Katrina.
All right, James Rosen, thank you so much. I'm glad the answer to that Pink Floyd reference was not comfortably numb. We appreciate it. All right. Meanwhile, earlier today, there was plenty of fun at the White House. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump hosted the annual Easter egg roll. Who was there besides the Easter Bunny? 2 of President Trump's kids, his son Eric and daughter Tiffany. They brought their children, as in the president's grandkids. We also saw some others from the Trump administration and their kids. A big family affair. That includes Trade Representative Jamieson Greer and White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Stephen Miller. Now, President Trump spent some time talking to the kids and joined in the fun activities. He even signed a few hats. And before that, the president and the first lady blew the whistle to start the egg roll for the kids. All right, and coming up, someone on the runway stops a plane from taking off. Who was it? That answer when the record continues. Stay right there.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbie from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
LeafGuard has been lab tested to handle up to 32 inches of rainfall an hour. The others don't compare with LeafGuard's one-piece design, exclusive big mouth and oversized downspouts. Plus, LeafGuard has earned the Good Housekeeping seal 20 years in a row. Call today and receive 10% off a complete LeafGuard system, 9 months zero-interest financing, and receive a free $50 gift card with estimate. But call during this program for our double savings sale. Double your savings from 10 to 20% off a complete Leaf Guard system. Double the financing to 18 months, 0 interest, senior and military discounts. Plus, double your free gift to a $100 gift card with your free in-home estimate. Here at Leaf Guard, we believe our customers say it best.
I don't have to clean the gutters anymore.
My favorite part of Leaf Guard is not watching my husband climb that ladder.
To never clean again, that sold me right there.
Leaf Guard is the only one-piece leaf shedding and rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee, and it's guaranteed not to come down. Leaf Guard, get it today, protect it for life. Stay off the ladder this spring and give up gutter cleaning forever. Plus, remember, during our double savings sale, we'll double your savings from 10 to 20% off a complete Leaf Guard system. Double the financing from 9 to 18 months, 0 interest. Plus, double your free gift from a $50 to $100 gift card with your free in-home estimate from Leaf Guard. Call 1-800-541-1274. The first 50 homeowners who call will receive a vacation voucher with Leaf Guard purchase. Let me give you that number again, 1-800-541-1274. And as a Great Day Improvements brand, receive 10% off any of our other products with your Leaf Guard purchase.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
Simparica Trio protects against 3 categories of parasites.
Power of disease.
This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
Aging isn't something that happens later. It's happening right now. We age because our cells age.
Fatty 15 helps to reverse aging on a cellular level.
And just one daily capsule has over 36 cellular benefits.
Basically acts like an armor for your cells. You should definitely try Fatty 15.
Slotomania, the #1 free slots game, presents the iconic Betty Boop, featuring amazing reels, exciting bonus games, and grand jackpots. Yes! Download Slotomania now, play Betty Boop slots, and get 25 free spins and 15 million free coins.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
Passengers on board a Delta flight in Georgia were delayed on the runway before they could take off. Why? Well, the reason wasn't the weather or a disruptive passenger. Instead, it was because of something or someone blocking their path. Now, it actually happened last month, but we just got the audio from air traffic control. Listen.
About a 6-foot gator sitting on this way. 6 foot? Yeah, he's about 6 foot. He just laid down.
That's right, an alligator blocking the runway. Now, the pilot was trying to take off from Savannah Hilton Head International Airport when the reptile got in the way. Officials responded immediately, and within minutes, the alligator was safely removed and the flight took off. All right, thanks for watching. All that's left to say is see you later, alligator. And Ed Henry, The Big Take, is next. Stay right here with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.